So Friday action's done here, Spa-Francorchamps. We woke up this morning absolutely pouring down. Drove in and thought they won't be running, but then Spa does what it usually does, clears quite quickly, all turn around, and a pretty interesting day, I think all told. Max Verstappen quickest this morning, McLaren 1-2, as we had last weekend, this afternoon. Phil, what were the main takeouts, do you think, from today then?
Yeah, I think McLaren 1-2 again. Yeah. Obviously, they came off the back of a massively dominant 1-2 in Hungary. We go to a completely different circuit. Yeah, aero efficiency, lower downforce, and they're right there again. So it's looking pretty ominous. I know it's Friday. You've got the typical shenanigans with fuel loads and engine modes, but they still look really good. Looks quite tight, I think, with Red Bull. It's not a big difference, but then you've got obviously Max's engine penalty, so they don't need to be a lot quicker to potentially beat him.
Yeah, I think it was quite interesting because obviously teams are trying to pick out kind of what others are doing in terms of wing levels here. Some teams are running high, they go low for the sectors 1 and 3, then you put more wing on for sector 2, so you're balancing those compromises. Some teams think McLaren are wound the engine up a little bit this afternoon. Red Bull don't normally do that on a Friday, so I think we don't see there. Mercedes was quite interesting, on an upgrade from the car. They think they're losing 0.9 seconds on the straights here, so I think they were quite disappointed. I went to the back of the Mercedes garage there, and Toto came out looking at me kind of in that what went wrong kind of face. So I think was a big debrief tonight, working in the simulator tonight. Were you surprised Mercedes were a bit off the pace today? Yeah,
it's one of those things where out of all the top teams, Mercedes brought by far the biggest package of upgrades for here. Some people have low downforce wings for Spa, but Mercedes had quite a big chunk of upgrades. So I wonder if it's just a lot to dial in. Does it take more time? They probably don't really know, so they've got a lot to dig through for tomorrow. But yeah, it's really surprising. I mean, we thought Ferrari weren't looking too good, but then maybe they look flattered by Mercedes. Leclerc and Sainz 4th and 5th. So yeah, you would think like Mercedes need to find some answers quickly because. It's not exactly good if you have an upgrade that becomes a downgrade. So. Yeah,
exactly. We've had that many times. I think one of the other interesting topics that's been kind of bubbling around the paddock when people talk about Fridays is what on earth, you've got your setup questions for sectors 1, 3 and 2, but then also got a setup factor for the rain. Obviously here, if it's going to be wet Saturday and Sunday, you want more downforce on. If it's going to be dry, you don't want too much wind because you get swallowed up on the straights. So teams are juggling all that. Now, I asked you to check on the weather forecast.
Yes.
You're a local as well. So tell us exactly, and I want no room for error, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's happening Sunday.
Yeah, world-renowned weather expert here at Spa. As you know, Spa is so unpredictable. However, it does look like it's going to rain tomorrow, 80% according to most models, including the one that the FIA uses. So very likely a wet qualifying to some degree. We don't know how much, but then it is going to be a drier race, hopefully, or presumably. So that kind of adds to your point about the downforce levels. Do we take into account potentially wet qualifying? Do we just go for the race? And this is especially interesting for Max Verstappen because he has that great penalty. He's definitely going to be focusing on race pace, maybe lower downforce so he can pass some people. So that is an interesting challenge, and especially if it's wet qualifying, you have to make some compromises, but you don't want to overdo it, and then you're in complete trouble for the race.
One of the great things about Spa is getting out trackside, looking at the cars here. I think you got out to Eau Rouge, didn't you, this morning? How was it? I mean, I've been down there many times, it's fantastic. How was it?
Yeah, I didn't used to do it, but I think it's such a perk of the job, and just to find that respect for what the drivers are doing. Eau Rouge is a fantastic place to go and watch, especially on the inside, because you can be a lot closer to the barrier because there's no danger there. So that's where a lot of photographers are standing as well. And it's just so impressive. It's when you walk up, it's just unbelievably steep, isn't it? And then to see them just fly over it, it's super impressive. And it's definitely recommended if you ever go to a race, try and find the best corners where you can just roam around and just see just how impressive these cars are.
Fridays, obviously, Formula 1 races, we get into kind of a rhythm of things. We get the tech upgrades in the morning. I think focus here was mostly Mercedes upgrades, quite a bit. Alpine have brought a big package, but Friday's also press conference day. Sometimes we get team people, sometimes it's team principals. Today was a team principals press conference, and quite an interesting one because there've been two big news stories in the build-up to this weekend. We had the Audi change, Mattia Binotto coming in at Audi, and obviously there's a lot of stories bubbling away at Alpine, engine deals, future of Bruno Famin. Let's start with Audi. Phil, you spoke to Alessandro. What did he say? What are things looking, and what do you think, get the sense of what's happening inside and outside Audi?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I think we all know Audi is quite it's a massive manufacturer, quite political landscape as well to operate in. So it's very much a case of removing 2 people and replacing them by 1 person there. To me, it looks like they want 1 person to just run the team independently, not too much outside meddling by the board or by anybody else. And Mattia Binotto, obviously somebody that has the experience with Ferrari and just a very long career in Formula One. So it's one of those things where I think they've probably recognized that you need to just try and keep the politics out of it as much as you can. We've seen it in the past, and arguably with some teams on the grid today, that car manufacturer politics can really sort of ruin the effective running of an F1 team. Not naming names, but it's a big responsibility, but it does look like he's going to get free reign, which maybe Andreas Seidel didn't quite get the way he wanted. So it's a good opportunity for him. It's not going to be easy. Yeah. So he's got some time, but not as much as you would like, I'm sure. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and obviously the other story is kind of Alpine. No official confirmation yet that Renault's pulling out, but I think that it's fairly clear what direction the travel is. Bruno Famin, their team principal, spoke today, said that this informed theory of the plan, that the F1 staff, looking to move to other projects. No one will lose their jobs, so it's moving forward. So it was kind of the first public notification we've had of where things are going. So we had that, and also Bruno talked about his own future. We ran the story on Autosport yesterday that Oliver Oakes has been tipped to become the new team principal. Bruno was expected to step down after the summer. We weren't expecting an announcement this weekend, but it happened. Bruno talked about it. He said, his heart was in with Viry-Châtillon. He came from there. He worked with those engineers. He feels the kind of passion and devotion to their future. So he says that he's going to step down and transition to this new role, and will sort out a future for Viry. So it's a very interesting perspective from him. No confirmation or announcement on what's happening, whether it will be Oliver Oakes and High Tech or whether someone else is coming in. But it's definitely room for change, and some big upheaval coming over the summer. We may get different drivers as well. But obviously all eyes on performance this weekend, qualifying day tomorrow. Phil, come on, who's on pole tomorrow?
Well, I quite like Lando Norris' comment that he felt terrible in the car, but he's still quickest. I don't know about you, John, but I would love to have that problem. So, I'm not going to look past McLaren. Is it a 1-2? I think Max mix it up, but then he's still got the great penalty, so it's kind of irrelevant. I'd put Lando in pole. He looked quite quick today, despite obviously feeling terrible. But I think they'll just keep cracking on.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt the McLaren at the moment is the quickest car in. If it's hot, it's cold. If the track's tight, if the track's fast, if it's high downforce, if it's low downforce, that car is just absolutely nailed on at the moment. Seems pushing on. Lando and Oscar are pushing strong. They're going through some learning challenges, difficulties like Hungary, but they kind of come out, they sit down, they analyse, they focus, they move forward and shift that focus. So Lando feeling uncomfortable today, not such a disaster. I think they'll roll on. I think this is theirs to lose. I'm just more intrigued by Mercedes because it's a team that traditionally this season has been very quick on Fridays, walked it and then fallen away over the weekend. This weekend they started from the other way around. So are they going to be the ones that emerge and come up? Can Max Verstappen make this progress from 10th on the grid? We shall wait and see, but we'll be back tomorrow to tell you some more.